Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs and welcome to the Prom Gown Sew Along. What I'd like to do today is give you a tour of the inside of Abby's dress after she wore it to the prom. And I'm really excited to say that I was successful with my strapless foundation and getting it to stay up because she spent more time holding her skirt than she did worrying about her top. So that made me really happy to see. What I'm going to do today is sort of show you the things I did and some of the things that worked and some of the things that didn't work. And then going forward in the next few episodes, I'm going to give you some step-by-step instructions on how to do some of these techniques that I'm going to just review today. That way you'll be able to pick and choose and watch the things that might interest you versus sitting through a long tutorial. So today is going to be tour of the dress. On Thursday, I'm going to show you how to use individual motifs of your lace to create an all-over design. So I'm going to show you how to applique lace onto lace. Then next week, on Tuesday, I'm going to show you how to keep your strapless foundation from sliding down. And traditionally, in a well-made dress, a waist stay is added to the inside of the dress to sort of cinch around your waist to keep the weight of the top of the bodice from pulling down. And I'm going to show you an alternative to that, working with a long line bra, which worked perfectly for a very busty young lady. Then on Thursday, I'm going to show you how to work with invisible zippers, and I'm going to talk about why a standard invisible zipper is not a good choice for a dress that has a lot of weight to it, because they tend to bust open at the waist seam. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you how to put in a heavy-duty invisible zipper using your standard zipper feet. Then to wrap things up the next Tuesday, I'm going to show you a simple rolled hem that I used to finish the edge of this dress, and it was so quick and easy. I literally did it in 2 minutes, and I didn't have to worry about folding or, pressing or pinning or anything, and it just really looked amazing, and it let the silk charmeuse be fluttery at the hem instead of sort of weighted. And then finally, I'm going to give you some tips on how to get a nice finish across the top of the bodice, some last minute fitting tips, and a few other things. So that's going to be next week and the week after, and then you'll have all the information for the Prom Gown Sew Along, and we'll move on to something new and exciting in May. So that's what we're doing. So let's get started looking at the dress. Now, I was wondering, first off, if the lace was going to make it, because remember, this is a prom gown. This isn't like a well-mannered cotillion, and I knew Abby was going to be on that dance floor dancing her heart out all night, which is exactly what she ended up doing. And I'm really happy to show you that, in a few places, you can see there's strings where some of the beads had slid off. But in most cases, everything stayed together really nicely. All my hand stitching for the trim is intact, and it still looks really nice. Let's look at the back of the dress. Okay, so I want to talk about my closures that I used. Now, keeping in mind, she was sleeping over her friend's house and she would be getting help from one of her friends to get out of this dress, I wanted to make it as easy as possible. So at the top, you can see I have a hook and eye, and it's a big hook and eye. I probably would have used something a little smaller if I knew, that she wouldn't have a hard time getting out of it. To hide that hook and eye, I just want to show you, I've used these individual lace motifs to sew across the top to make trim. And what I did was I spaced them so at the top of the zipper, they overlapped, sort of crisscrossed each other like this. So it hid the top of the zipper, and it also hid that good size hook and eye. At the bottom, I stopped sewing the lace, on either side of the zipper. And you can see down here, I left a little extra room at the waist for the zipper to go through there because the zipper has a hard time with the waist seam allowances. and I wanted to hide that. So what I did was I used one of those big sew-on snaps, and I figured this would be really easy for her friend to unsnap versus using two small sew-in snaps, which is what I would use normally on a dress like this. But it worked out great. It's very easy to snap and unsnap, and you can see that when it's snapped, it's really not visible and everything lined up really nicely. But then to get the dress off, it was really easy just to unsnap that one snap. Something that did not work is I used the rayon gold colored thread to hand sew the snap on, and you can see that in getting it on and off, the stitching started to fall apart. So a tip here would be to use heavy duty thread if you're going to sew snaps on. And probably I should have thought of that to begin with, but I'm going to take these snaps off actually and put on little snaps for the next wearing, because our plan is we're going to make this a short dress and she's going to wear it again. So when I rehab it for the second wearing, I'm going to fine tune my snaps, and I'm going to put two little sew-on snaps here instead of this one big one. But again, she was sleeping over her friend's house, and I didn't want her to have to fight with getting the little snaps undone. And you can see when I sewed the lace on around the waist, I sewed across the top edge, okay, but I didn't sew it to the bottom. And the reason why I didn't tack it onto the skirt is because when she was wearing the dress, it puffed out, you know, with her shape underneath it, and it actually laid really nice on. So if you're going to use a wide lace to finish a waistline, you may want to leave the lower edge free so it can move with the skirt separately and not with the skirt. All right, so that's the zipper and the snap. You can see that at the base of my zipper here, it makes a very nice transition from zipper to seam. And I got that by putting the invisible zipper in first, and then when I sewed the seam under the zipper, I left about 1/8 of an inch hole between where the zipper was sewn to the dress and where the seam started. And so when I pressed it, it allowed the fabric to really just seamlessly lay nice. And I'll show you that when I work with the zipper next week. Abby was very concerned that this was going to be too short. She wanted it to be as long as possible. So instead of doing a folded or double sewn hem, which is another good option when you're working with hard to sew fabrics, I did a really lightweight rolled hem. And the nice thing about this is you just skim along the edge and it rolls it, and then when you press it, it just disappears into the fabric almost from when you're, you know, when you're wearing it. And this is at the hem. This treatment is barely noticeable, and it doesn't change the hand of the fabric. So this was a really easy, nice way to finish this dress. It literally took me 2 minutes. And then in keeping with that, I made the same finish on the lining, and I didn't change the thread. So the thread sort of matches the color of the dress, and that worked out really nice. Working on this dress, I sort of had to hurry up because I was taking some time to do editing and shooting to follow along, you know, so you guys could follow along. So my original plan was I was gonna do French seams for the side seams. But then I thought, you know what? She's gonna wear it 1-2 times, that's it. So I'm not gonna take the time to do that. So instead what I did was I just used my wider seam allowances and I pressed the seams open. And I can say that I'm really not happy with that, because you can see the silk charmeuse really frays. So this would not be how I would ever do this again. And I just want to show you what happens when you do that. You end up with all these fuzz balls. Your fabric is going to fray like this. It's a good idea to either treat the edges with a very light, loose 3-thread narrow, or do something that encases the seams like a French seam. You could probably also pink the edges if you have pinking shears. My pinking shears are older than me, and they really don't cut very well. So if I can find a place to get these sharpened, if I had pinked the edges, then both sides would have looked more like this, where I have this equal sort of fray. But just leaving them untreated is not a good idea. So that's something that did not work. Now let's look at the inside of the dress. All right, so because Abby really is well endowed, I decided to sew the long line bra right into the dress. And the important thing about that is you want to position this and sort of pin along the edge when the person that is wearing the dress is wearing it, because if you try to position this just laying flat, chances are it's not going to sit right when it's on you. And in Abby's case, she has sort of an asymmetrical bust where one side is fuller than the other. And in order to get this dress to appear like it's straight and wearing it straight across, notice that the bra is not in the center. It's over to the right side a little bit, because when she's wearing it, that side takes more room. So I had to move the bra actually was shifted over, and the front of the dress was straight on. So, you know, if you're asymmetrical, the bra is not going to be symmetrical inside the dress. And another thing you need to be careful about if you're sewing a bra into a dress like this, you don't want to sew it all the way into the center of the cups, because you don't want the dress to follow in. You know, if this bra fits correctly, this portion of the bra is against your body. So you don't want to draw the dress into the center of your body with it. So where you would attach this is across the top of the cups, okay, to the side where the wire is. You do not want to attach it in the back, because that's, you know, that's stretchy, and you know, that could get a little, you know, hard to accurately tack it on, because this is stretching and this is not stretching. So just right across the cups like this. And I pinned this on when it was on her. The other thing this does, in addition to help hold the dress up, is it keeps the cups from peeking out. So if you're having trouble with your foundation peeking out, tacking it to the dress is a good idea. Now, what did I actually tack it to? I actually tacked it through the lining and into the strapless foundation. Okay, so remember, you know, under here there's a lining, and then under there is the strapless foundation, and that's what I actually sewed it to. If you sew it just to the lining, you'll tear your lining. So you need to anchor it into something more substantial. See if I can get in there. Okay, so you can see that I actually anchored it right to the strapless foundation. I think to get the dress dry clean though, I'm gonna unsew the bra and just wash the bra separately and have the dress dry cleaned. So for aftercare, I'm just gonna undo my hand stitching, and then I can stitch it back on later, but I really have to give both of these things a good wash job. All right, so those are the things that I did to make this dress successful, and some of the things that weren't such a great idea, like using the soft rayon thread to sew the snap-on, and then to not finish the edges of the silk along the seam allowances. On Thursday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to work with this lace. And let me just remind you, this lace had all over beaded design on it, and there were individual motifs, like this little one right here, and then, you know, we have this bigger one. Okay, and what I did was I cut these out, and I actually applied them to the lace where it was attractive once I had the bodice sewn together. So I wanted it to, you know, look nice in 3D. So I waited until I had the bodice sewn together. All right, so that's what I'm going to do on Thursday. I'm going to show you how to, you know, cut these apart and work with them and sew them back onto the lace to make an overall design. You know, if there's anything that I haven't talked about that you really need to know how to do, please post a comment and I can work it into the tutorial. I tried to pick and choose and do things that I thought would be helpful. I didn't do step-by-step construction of the dress because, you know, I thought that I would sort of pay attention to some of the more specialty techniques. But if there's something that you don't know how to do, or you're concerned about, or you have questions, please let me know, and I would love to answer them for you. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on Thursday for how to work with beaded lace to make an overall design.